what's really good. All right, it's time to be real. It's time to tell you what's really good with me, Hatter Ali, and the one and only, my mentor, the only G-Dub, Coach Gregg Williams in the house. What's going on?
How you doing, my man? Everything's going good. Had a little bit of a relocation, but we're getting ready to start the UFL down in Arlington, Texas area. All 8 teams. So I'm in my office down here, and we've been working hard all week long, getting ready for the players start arriving tomorrow.
Hey, definitely. I'm sure, before the whole practice and stuff, you're already chewing some people out, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got the staff in here, so the defensive staff is getting some ass chewings and that kind of stuff right now. So that's good, and they'll be glad the players get here to take it over.
Definitely, definitely. Hey, coach, I know you're gonna do wonders for them. Won the chip last year with UFL. I mean, you can't get better than that. You can't get better than that. But today we're gonna have a talk, a very close talk about the Buffalo Bills. Okay.
Great.
Now, obviously, coach, you were a coach there for 3 years, and the special guest that I'm gonna bring on has been there, shoot, about almost a decade. Okay. He's undrafted. He made a name for himself. Okay. And, coach, you called me yesterday. You asked me, hey, what position did he play? Hey, he played defense and offense sometimes.
Oh,
That's it. So he's an all rounder. All right. So let's bring the guest on for the show. Okay. The one and only all pro Brian Moorman.
yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh,
You're too kind calling me.
No, there you go. And you got way too many stories about that time. I know.
Well, it's good times. Good times, Coach. Always great to see you.
It's always great to see you too. And what I love, about you, and I've told your story so many times before, is that people don't really realize that you had to go to NFL Europe first, and
Right.
we signed you out of NFL Europe, and everybody thought I was stupid. Okay, signing you, but you were lights out in the workout that we had for you, and what a great career you were able to do.
Well, thank you. I tell you, I owe a lot to you for sticking by me, and we came out of the gate that year, but it was a long year coming after 10 games over there in Europe, and you guys you hung in there with me, and I owe that to you guys. I mean, I wouldn't have stayed there a long time, and Buffalo it's like a second hometown to me, and it's all because you guys signed me there and gave me that opportunity.
Yep, and I will tell you what, you made the most of the opportunity, and I hope everything's going well with you and the family.
We're doing great. We're doing great. Yeah, I hope everything's great with you guys too. It seems like yesterday that you watched your kids grow up there in Buffalo for 3 years,
Yep.
and now I've got a 13-year-old, so time flies. Yeah.
And as you know, the oldest one there that was a tremendous high school player and went on to Princeton and was phenomenal. And then he decided to be a dumbass and go into coaching with me. And we were the very first father-son to win a Super Bowl together on the same
That's
staff.
awesome.
And then Belichick got ahead with his son Steve 2-1, pissing us off. But Blake retired this year and went into wealth management, Lakefront Capital, a big financial firm, and also a big technology firm, and he's doing fantastic. He's finally using that education I had to pay for at Princeton.
well, good stuff. Finally, it'll come to fruition there for you. But tell him hello for me.
I will do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Brian, listen, man. People are overlooking the position, the punter position. You played punter, and that's a hard job. I want you to tell me some of the things that people kind of get, overlook about this position. How do you prep yourself, coming to the game and watching these new punters come out, like my boy Tress Way. Tell us the ins and outs for that position and how hard it can be.
Well, I think it's obviously an important part of the game, and I think Coach will attest to that too. Is field position, and coaches always preach it. There really is 3 phases to it every week, and there's a lot of hidden yardage there that we can gain by flipping the field, and that was one thing we always talked about. Now that being said, and it's funny you bring up the punters today. Now that my first year there, Coach, Danny Smith being the special teams coach.
Yep.
Love that man. And I tell this story all the time too. He would just be harping and hitting on the table and saying 37 yards, that's going to lead the league. we're gonna net 37 yards. And my God, if I netted 37 yards today in the NFL, I wouldn't have a job.
How about that? And you know how it's changed. You're exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's changed a ton, and I think a lot of it is, the punters and kickers have gotten stronger. They start much younger. They're technically sound. They work at it differently. I came in, I was a track guy coming out of college. You got guys like Josh Bidwell. He was a linebacker. We were just former athletes that became punters and kickers and whatnot. And now it's just a specialized position, and 50-yard field goals are expected, whereas before it was a treat.
Yep.
And if you don't net 40, you're probably not going to keep your job. And that was like the gold standard. It was the 4-minute mile, so to speak. And somebody could net 40, and we were shooting for that every year. And now it's done all the time by almost everybody. So all that hidden yardage is kind of something that I think that isn't talked about enough. And even the placement of the punts with the way they do it now. We were doing all directional stuff with, we were going to the corners and everything else. And if I would have kicked end over end kick, I think Danny Smith would have had my ass, what are you doing? And
he'd have swallowed some of his bubble gum.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I didn't adopt that flip flop awesome rules kick until my 9th year in the league.
Right.
So that kind of puts in perspective what these guys are doing now. They're doing all kinds of different weird banana style kicks and everything else that they're doing. Just putting them on the ground and letting them go at some points. And now they're also they're kicking them down the field and letting these athletes cover. Yep. And it's pretty impressive.
Speaking about flipping the field, now you're flipping houses. How's that going?
It's good. I got and then I wouldn't have thought that this was going to be my career path, but when I retired, I had believe it or not, I got my real estate license at training camp there in Rochester that last season. Me, I didn't have meetings, so I had to do something. Figured it was kind of see that it's coming to an end. I better have something to do at least. And it turned out I had it. My brother-in-law was a real estate attorney, and he was like, just get it. You can refer it out. And then I came down here, and turned out that some of the coaches from Buffalo were coming down here. And Nathaniel Hackett actually was a very good friend of mine. And he got the job down here as a quarterback coach, and he was the first house I sold. So, so football really paid off there too. So I owe him a lot for that, because it just kind of took off from there. And now, my team, I actually owned the brokerage for about 5 or 6 years with some partners. We built it up. It was bought by one Sotheby's out of Miami, which I'm thrilled to be a part of now with my team. And we're one of the top teams in Northeast Florida. So that's gone really well. And, I think a lot of that stems from, being an athlete and being part of a team and understanding what it takes to build things, and having the fortitude to get through the adversity and things like that. And, and then obviously knowing what it's like to be on a team and treat your teammates with respect and try and find success. So I've been lucky to have some success with that since I've retired.
Definitely. And not only was it success with, flipping houses, 2-time All-Pro, back-to-back. Bills back in the days was something else, right? They were just like, okay, we playing the Bills this week. Okay, that's a W on the book, right? But hey, listen, you still made that happen, got 2 Pro Bowls, right? Now, speaking of 2 Pro Bowls, I see the jersey, hanged up behind you.
Yeah.
And I'm also wearing a jersey that could kind of give you nightmares here and there. So let's talk about that.
I see that.
I know Coach G-Dub called you after this happened. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let's take a flashback to when you were doing that fake and Punter came out of nowhere and hit you perfectly fine with his shoulder. What was going through your mind? Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was a blur. I mean, all I saw was a flash of blue. And that was it. And then I joke it's like the best Reebok commercial ever because my feet were so up in the air. And he just rocked me. And that jersey, actually, you look behind me, is the one I wore, and it actually has his face mask paint embedded in the jersey. And I take a lot of pride in that. Obviously, I took a good shot, but I jumped up, and I needed him to see that I was up and I was good. And I think my biggest regret from that is just I didn't ever get a chance to meet him and chat with him after the fact. And and I know you coached him for a long time, Coach, and I talked to Danny Smith about him a lot, and just what a great guy he is, what a great athlete. And he was a stud. And I got that, the other end of that. But it's just, I guess I say it's my 15 seconds of fame that keeps on giving, because it comes up every year. And here we are again. But yeah, so it's and it's funny because some people like to joke and make fun of it. I'm like, I take pride in it. I was able to take a hit from one of the best safeties in the history of the football game. So,
and I love the fact of you popping up and showing them all that kind of stuff. That's what we do inside the white lines.
That's
and
right.
People, it's not flag football. You got to be able to handle those things. And I really thought it was outstanding that you did.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, it's I think that's the thing. That's what I always knew. Everybody thinks, like I said, we all play different positions, and then people think, oh, you're just a punter, you're just a kicker, but we're athletes. We want to.
Yep.
That was always for me when I actually played position. It was like always jump up. I mean, and then you can assess it after the fact.
I mean, not only that, like you were saying, punter's all position. I mean, you did a lot of a lot of fakes you did as well during your time in Bills. You were like a full-on quarterback back there. You know what I'm saying?
I had a pretty good passer rating.
Exactly.
You had a good QBR.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I think it's one of the best in Bills history. Now, I only didn't have that many reps, but I would have faked it every time I was back there. Coach would have let me. Every time.
I'm telling you. I mean, at that time, Bills needed something to happen.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you went up to Sean Taylor, what did you exactly say?
I just said, hey, nice hit, I'm up. That's all. I just wanted him to say, and he was having fun with it. I want to have some fun with it.
Right.
But the main thing is it's a Pro Bowl. Just go have fun with it. Keep it lighthearted, whatever. Of course, the first thing I was like, I had a quick assessment, think, okay, am I still in one piece before I ever even jumped up? But I was like, okay, I cannot have people think that he just rocked me that bad and I'm just going to lay here. But then it was like, hey, we're in the Pro Bowl. Let's slap him on the head and move on. And I was hoping to run into him that night at the pool, because everybody hangs around the pool, around the bar, and all that stuff. And got to watch ESPN replay it over and over, and everybody, laugh and hoot and holler or whatever. But I never did run into him, so that would have been cool, just to have the opportunity to kind of talk through it, and it'd been fun to be able to talk through it now, this many years later.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And now, Coach G-Dub, you can also pitch in this. Brian, you playing for the Bills during that time, how did the fans and just playing for the Bills itself kind of impact you as a player? I know you have a foundation called the Punt Foundation going on as well. How did playing for the Buffalo Bills impact you as a person?
Well, I think it goes that, organization, but then community too. I mean, that community is pretty special, and it's like a second hometown to me. The fans there were second to none, and you see it now with the whole Bills Mafia thing that's going on, and that even before that became a term, the Bills Mafia was the Bills Mafia, and they kind of wrap their arms around you and support you, and especially if you show a little love to them, they're gonna give it back to you 10 times. And to this day, I still have a group of guys that tailgate, and they call it Coffin Corner. And I love going back and tailgating with those guys. I was back to the Chiefs game, tailgating with them for the playoff game, which is a heartbreaker. But those fans are they're awesome, and so that certainly affected our lives in a very positive way. And yes, we did start the foundation back in 2004, so 20 years ago now, and luckily other players have kind of taken that role and carried on the programs that we started, helping children battle cancer, and very proud of those programs that we started. And now we try and do a little bit of the same down here in Jacksonville with starting a little charity that we donate per closing that I get real estate wise, and do a little fundraiser and then grant out to local charities like Tom Coughlin's J Fund and V for Victory, and others here locally helping kids battle cancer. And so it's just remained important to us, and I know it's important to you, Coach. You have done that for years back home. And so obviously having the mentors and the role models like Coach here, we just try and pick up, and we're in a special place, a special platform that we have, that we were blessed to be in football. And when you run into a community like Buffalo, it's pretty special, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have that opportunity. One more reason to thank you and Tom Donahoe and Coach and Nanny and everybody for sticking by me those first 3 years.
And it breaks my heart for you to talk about them. And a lot of people don't know until you've been, with the Buffalo Bills, is that the Mafia and the tailgaters start showing up there on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then if they can work, they work, all that kind of stuff. But they're, at night, they're already setting up. By the time Sunday, it's rocking and rolling out there. And I still have great friends up there too. It's a great community. It's one of my favorite I've been a part of.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And you're right. They start bringing those RVs in early in the week and hanging out until late after the game. And you're just one of them. I think that's the best part that I loved about it. It was more like a college atmosphere. It still is. And, right there in the middle of the community at Orchard Park. And it's just a really special place.
And guys, this podcast is strictly for the Bills Mafia, right? Brian, I'm sure you still follow the games for the Bills. The past couple of years, the Bills are, they're playing amazing. Josh Allen's doing his thing, but they're not getting over the hump, right? What is it for them, you think, that they need to do to get over the hump?
Well, I got to tell you, I go back to – I learned a lot those first 3 years, by the way, Greg. A lot of sayings that I learned from the times being with you and Danny. And one thing that I grabbed from him was it's really freaking hard to win in this league.
Yep.
It's really hard to win in this league. And then you gear up for the playoffs. And that's another thing Danny would always say. He goes, I love the playoffs because I could stop coaching. The players coach themselves, and it's just another notch, but you know what? That other team has, their computers too, and they've got game film and they're planning and everything else. And, to get over that hump, it's just like, I'll go back to this last game against the Chiefs. It's like you feel like everything's going our way. And then just for some reason in the second half, the adjustments and things that were made and it just seems like things went flat. And I never had an answer for that. There were many times we have those shoulda games. You look back after the game, you're sitting in the locker room, you're like, we should have won that game. There's 3 plays here or there that, change the game. And I think you got to find a way to make those 3 or 4 plays go your way. And what the answer is that I would love to know, because I think Coach would probably have a better answer than I would, because you see it on the sideline. It's hard to make adjustments on the fly. And what the coaches do, I don't think people give them enough credit for.
And I agree. And then the magnification of 3 or 4 big plays or mistaken plays are the determining factor of a ball game. And regular season and all that other kind of stuff, when the talent disparity is going on, you can overcome those things. But now the biggest thing about playoffs, it shrinks that season. Talent disparity is now narrower, and now every mistake is magnified. And I learned this a long time through George Allen, Jack Pardee, Bill Parcells, all the different people I've had a chance to been mentors to me and everything, is that eliminate your own mistakes, okay, because the other team's going to make them too, okay? And mistakes are the real reason on some of that stuff. And it's not just the quarterback, okay? It's other people, and there's defensive coverage things. There's rush lanes. There's gaps that aren't handled in the run game. All those little minor things come out to be big plays, especially in the playoffs. And I always know, one of my closest friends, Andy Reid, does a great job, okay, of the playoffs and how they go about doing those type of things. And he's got a pretty good quarterback himself right now. And I think the Bills have a really good quarterback too, and continue to surround the things around him. And they're going to get over the hump. I do believe that.
Bills losing 5 years in a row in the playoffs, is just like, I've noticed that in the second half, they always have problems closing the game. The secondary always has problems closing the game. And now they're getting a new defensive coordinator, Babich in there. So, G-Dub, what do you think about him? Like, what do you think the changes he could possibly make to the defense and kind of fix it up a little bit?
I think he'll add some things to what Sean McDermott already does. But Sean has that background, especially from the Eagles and all the times he spent, coordinating and moving up through the ranks that way. As the head coach is still going to be involved. A head coach has been involved here as the play caller this entire season this year. There will be some type of a morphing of moving together on things that Bab can bring in there and Sean wants done no matter who's there. And they just got to perfect it. But it doesn't come down to as much scheme as you think. It comes down to players' effort, players' toughness, okay, and players, okay, performing their opportunity to do their jobs on keeping the ball in front of them on defense and moving the ball on offense. And especially in the playoffs, it becomes more magnified with the players and less magnified with the coaches. And they got to continue to build that program the right way.
Do you guys think Josh Allen got snubbed with the MVP past season?
Well, I'll tell you this is that I don't know that he got snubbed, but when you take a look and try to break down behind the scenes and take a look at the voting, that kind of shocked me a little bit, and because I do think that he played extremely well, especially mid-season on. But after the first 4 or 5, I think first 4 or 5 games, he really lit it up and did a great job there. But then the players voting and everything, that were a part of that kind of shocked me a little bit right there, that it wasn't a closer competition with him and Lamar.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, obviously I'm biased. I think I'm a member of Bills Mafia now, so I'm a little over biased. But that being said, what he brings to the table, I think, and what he means to that football team, and you argue the same thing with Mahomes in Kansas City. I mean, he's the glue, right? And he's the amount of touchdowns that he had. I don't care if they're short yardage or not. I mean, that's big. I mean, and the guys on the team believe in him, and he changes games. And he clearly, whether or not he was snubbed this year, I don't know, but I certainly believe he will be an MVP. But hey, listen, these guys they're all good. I mean, it's not that Lamar didn't deserve it either, or Mahomes, or whoever else was in the top 5. It's just they're all good, and he's one of the best. And I think that to Coach's point, we're going to get over the hump. It's just it's frustrating to get that close every year, and heartbreaking to go and be on the other side and not win, and be in the locker room after that and just be thinking about those 3 or 4 plays we were talking about, and knowing that you got to start over, and all right, we got to go right back to off-season conditioning and mini camps and then the training camp. And before we know it, we'll be back in September, and we'll be at the first game. And but knowing that that you've got Josh Allen behind center starting that year out, that's a good step in the right direction.
And I agree with you there too. And I thought you said something really good that people don't realize, is that how you get over the hump of all that stuff, and a shorter off season, and how fast things have to do. Body wise, hopefully everything's okay, but it does, starting fast again, gets rid of some of those memories so that you can prepare to move on and get over the hump.
Yeah. Definitely. And another thing people don't kind of forget is the injuries.
Yes.
Bills always be getting injuries, especially on defense. Kind of explains why, they give up the game in the second half of the games, So, the injuries are big. Tre'Davious White, amazing cornerback. Always gets hurt, during the season. They'll figure something out. But, with Babich coming in, I wonder how he would, do, good to the defense, where, they can kind of fix those mistakes, especially in the second half of the games.
And the big thing there is this, is I want to tell you this, is that whoever is playing, it's the coordinator's responsibility to change schematically to fit the player. And don't have the player be doing things that he cannot do or is less likely to be able to do. But you got to make sure schematically you're fitting the players. And every single place I've been, every single team I've coached, I've had to change scheme things to fit the techniques and the fundamentals that those players can handle. And so Bab's going to have to do some of that too. And Sean did some really good things, I thought, with how he handled the injuries and backups playing more, all that kind of stuff. Those are the things we have to do as coaches.
I think I was going to ask you that, Coach. I thought that the Bills did a great job of that last year. I mean, the amount of injuries they had, you just go down the list with Milano and Tre'Davious White and others. I mean, my gosh, they're good as far as they had, and still be right there beating a team like the Chiefs and Mahomes, and with guys that have stepped up. And it's a next guy up thing. And I think that's where, with Babich coming in this year, how he's been a part of that in the past over this last year and the last couple of years, how he's helped develop Milano, Dodson, Bernard, Poyer. Obviously there's a big question for you if he's going to be back, but how he's been part of that over the last, I mean, I think it's great that he's there. The guys believe in him. And just to your point, the players play the game, but if they believe in the coach and they believe in the schemes that he has and that he's able to change those schemes every week, I think that's a big thing for them to step on the field knowing that they've got the coach has their back and they've got each other's back. And so I feel good about it.
I do too.
Diggs, we saw what happened once Brady became, the offensive coordinator switch. What do you think is going to happen with Stephon Diggs and the connection that he has with Josh Allen? Because, once that thing happened with the switch, he wasn't really getting any targets and much with the game plan. G-Dub and Brian, what do you think is going to go on there?
Well, the big thing is that you earn more targets, on how you practice and how you prepare and meetings together and how you have to think a lot like the same thing. Those things will be fine. But the other things that lots of times doesn't show up is how teams, adjust coverage to make you go away from him, and how you set coverage rules, to be able to move the ball away to somebody else. One of the things that will be really good too, that's all right, because he edits this, and one of the things that will be very good too is that Diggs playing multiple positions, meaning that multiple spots within formations, because that will limit what the defense can do to take you away from them and what they want to do. So we'll see. Offensively, they're going to have to do some more things with that. But he is a solid, very, very good football player. But some of those other guys stepped up and did a good job too.
Brian, I thought you were about to get attacked by a lion or something. Like, you kind of gave me a glimpse of Sean Taylor hitting you. I'm like, what's going on here?
Just the dog seeing the dog walk by. Yeah.
Definitely.
But I think that's, to me, I think it's odd to me that, this day and age with everybody out there, all the fantasy football and all the pundits and everybody that has all the answers and saying, oh, well, Stephon Diggs has lost a step or this or that, he's still one of the top in the league. And and I firmly believe that. Whether or not he had targets or not, I think you brought up the perfect point. All those people, they don't see those schemes that are going against them. And I did read all the stuff about, oh, well, they're doubling. Oh, no, they didn't. I watched the film. They didn't double them. Well, that doesn't mean they didn't have a scheme that was going against that kept them from being targeted and made somebody else be the better, the hot read, So what do I know? I'm just a punter, right? But but I'd be upset if he wasn't back next year. And then again, I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, if it doesn't work out that way, it's fine. But I think he's a huge threat, and I'd hate to see him playing for somebody else.
I agree with you that, and a lot of the things on that movement situation will be Cap, and how you handle Cap and how they handle it with him and Cap and his agreement with that will all be. But the stories will go all different directions. But that is a big thing that each team now, has to be able to manage and do, is that continue to improve players without having cap responsibilities that restrict you from helping yourself grow.
Now, Coach and Brian, what type of players do you think they should re-sign? Who do you think they should re-sign? And what type of players or what positions should they fill in the free agency that they're lacking in?
Go ahead, Brian.
I guess it probably depends who comes back. Is Poyer coming back in the back end on defense? He's a big part of defense, and obviously, I think Brandon Beane's done a really great job in the draft over the last few years, and since he's taken over, and I firmly believe that he's got a plan in place. Other players, obviously, we don't know what we just talked about with Diggs, but that being said, just the receiving core in general, adding to that, I don't think you can ever have enough good offensive linemen personally, but that's just me. And then, other than that, I honestly haven't dug that deep into it yet this year. Been busy flipping houses and selling houses, but obviously I do, once this combine's starting to kick up and everything else, I'll be interested to see what the plan is moving forward. What are your thoughts, Coach?
And there's still a lot of conversations going on behind the scenes with existing players that you can still be talking to before free agency starts. And a lot of those things are speculations, but there is communications going on behind the scenes that we don't know publicly that are, restructuring contracts or agreeing to certain things right there, and also, wanting to stay. And but there's just not press conferences to let us know what's going on with that. But all the work also is going out there because you, as an organization in professional sports, have to handle the what ifs. What ifs this guy leaves? What if this doesn't happen? And you got to be building your list, okay, of approval that you're going to be able to get and get guys to be able to do things to play to replace anybody that ends up needing to be replaced.
Coach G, you're definitely right on that. And we're going to end it with this. Brian, I need your feedback definitely on this, and G-Dub, obviously. Next year, breakdown. The upcoming season for the Bills. What do you think the record could be, and where do you think they will shine?
The big part of it is, and again, I think they've done a very good job of this, and it's very important with any organization is to start fast, okay? And you start fast in the off season, you start fast in the meetings, you start fast in the practices, and it's day by day by day by day building that mentality. And then as you start fast in the actual regular season, okay, it gives you benefits during some of the injury plague parts of the season or the fatigue parts of the season when it builds. So as they're setting things up, they've got to do everything they can to be able to start fast and then finish strong.
I would say the same thing. It's funny because these things are embedded in our brains throughout our careers, right? It is the start, but I would say the exact same thing. It starts now. I mean, actually, it started as they walked off the field, you know, and you're mentally preparing at that point, and then you take a quick minute off, and you're right back to working out. These guys don't really stop. I mean, they might go on vacation, but I promise you, they're in the weight room on vacation. And at this point, as the off season is progressing, they're back to watching film, and they're back to doing the things that they need to do to be the best at their craft. And it's the front office and it's the players. And when you have a guy leading your team like a Josh Allen, and on defense you got Milano and others, that I believe that team's got the chemistry, and they continue to build that through the offseason. Obviously you got to get to that point, and then to Coach's point, I mean, you come out of the gate and start fast. It's tough if you don't. I mean, we have all those statistics every year. It's like, if you go 0-2, your chances of making the playoffs are, minuscule, although it happens. But so you got to get out of the gate, and then the teams that are playing well in December, those are the ones that you tend to see in the playoffs, and so that's what's great. I feel like the Bills are built for that. They're built to start fast, and I believe they're built to play well in December. So. Now we just need to finish out in January and February.
That's it. And do you guys finally believe this next upcoming season they can finally go to the big one, to the Super Bowl, and win a playoff game?
My thought process and everything I do in life is I think strong, and I think well, and I think the best. And if you don't do that, you're part of the problem pedaling downhill away from it. So yes, I think. And I think they can do that. I think the staff, I think the organization, I think the players will be there in the right framework and the right mindset. And you got to believe you can do it before you actually do it.
Man, I can't say any better than that. That's the mindset of every professional coach and athlete. I mean, that's how we get there, right? And that's how you get to that level. And if you don't have that mindset that Coach just mentioned, then you won't be to the end of the season. And that's what you got to start with. You've got to believe from the beginning, or don't even start. So yes, I do think that the Bills can get there, and they've got it in their DNA. They just got to find it in the end.
And that is that you've heard me say this, and really other people say this too. If you don't have that mindset, then you go off to doing something else. Maybe it's flipping houses.
Yeah, that's Unfortunately, unless of course you guys end up needing somebody down there in Arlington, I mean,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
stretching out. Just let me know,
There you
Coach.
go. I would have no hesitation on bringing you in to do that. Yes.
You know my number, and as long as you
I
run
know.
a couple fakes.
And I still got the same number too. So if you need me,
Right on.
let's roll. You be watching it and be obviously hypercritical of me, maybe doing too much stuff on the sideline.
Not at all. Not at all.
Brian, I appreciate you coming on to the What's Really Good podcast. I'm definitely one of these days when I go with the wife again, road trip to Miami, I'm gonna stop by Jacksonville because you flipping houses, you can give me some percentage. You know what I'm saying? I might need some.
Yeah. Well, you know anybody that wants to come down and get a luxury home? That's look me up here at One Sotheby's. That would be fantastic.
That is outstanding.
So,
you bet. And you please tell your family hello for me.
You do the same for me, please, Coach. And if I'm in that area, I'm going to stop by your office.
Thank you very much. Please do that. You can
Always
set
great
meetings
to see
too, as long as you're not allergic to one word that I don't want to say right now.
I know the word. I heard it a time or two. Yeah, I miss those meetings, man. I miss being around the guys. I'd love to come see you guys.
You bet.
G-Dub, that was an amazing show.
You did a very, very good job, and so did he. And he's one of my favorites of all time. I love him to death. And as good as a player as he was, he is as solid and better person. He is Definitely. A good person.
I mean, G-Dub, I only bring people who are real on the show.
Yep,
and,
I'm
good. Like, man, Brian needs to come on.
Yep.
He's a good all-rounder, and he definitely knows the ins and outs about being real. So, definitely that was a great episode. Coach G-Dub, you can go ahead and end the show with your favorite saying, man.
All right, here we go. Ready, break? Come get some!